ceaseless loyalty to his father, had sensed his dislike of Neville and wondered what the man thought of him. He was, he thought briefly, still a dark horse of sorts, despite the fact that Neville had been dead nearly 15 months now, and he, Hawk, was his father's heir. "Yes," Hawk said, "my father." "Holding his own, my lord." Hawk raised a black brow, and Conyon merely nodded toward the bed, saying nothing more. "Father," Hawk said, stepping onto the dais and leaning down to the quiet figure, "I'm here." Charles Lindley Beresford Hawksbury, the Marquis of Chandos, slipped a bony hand from beneath the brocade coverlet to clasp his son's strong fingers. "It's about time, boy," he said. His father should have been called Hawk, the Earl thought, staring down at his father's pale face with that jutting nose of his. He met his father's intense, hooded green eyes a shade darker than his own, and lightly touched his fingertips to the thick silver hair, smoothing it back from his broad forehead. "Yes," he said, "I came as quickly as I could. I received Conyon's message last night. How are you feeling, father?" "Could be my last prayers," the Marquis said, his voice sounding more frail than before, weaker. "Well, it doesn't matter. I've had a full life and a son to be proud of to carry on my line." Hawk winced a bit at that, feeling guilt flood him. Some son, carrying on in London as if gaiety were to be outlawed soon, and he had to have his fair share before it happened. "You're not going to die, father. Where is your doctor?" "In the kitchen, doubtless stuffing his mouth with Albert's ham." The Marquis turned his head on the pillow and coughed. The cough was dry and harsh. Hawk felt himself grow cold with fear, felt his throat choke with tears, and he clutched his father's hand tightly, wishing that he could give him strength. "What does Trengargle say?" The Marquis slowly eased his head back on the pillow, his eyes closing a moment. When he opened them on his son's face, Hawk felt seared by their intensity. "He gives me perhaps 2 or 3 more weeks. It's this congestion in my lungs. The fool wants to bleed my life away, but I won't let him." "No, father, you are right. I saw men fade into death when the damned leeches bled them after battle." The Marquis heard the deep pain in his son's voice and said softly, "You saw too much, my boy. But you're strong. You survived. The horror of it will grow less, you will see. Now I must speak to you, Hawk." "You're tired, father," Hawk began. "No," the Marquis said firmly. "Listen to me. I will live to see your wife. See that you take that wife as you promised to do." Hawk felt himself stiffen at those words. That damnable oath. He'd forgotten. Perhaps he'd wanted to forget about it. Hawk slowly seated himself on the edge of his father's bed. The time had come, and there was no way out of it, he knew. For nearly a year now he'd managed to escape the inevitable, throwing himself into the wildness and ceaseless gaiety of London, gambling, drinking, fighting. Not whoring. He didn't do that, for the simple reason that he didn't want the French pox. He'd seen too many soldiers rot with that. He thought of Amélie, his fun-loving and passionate mistress, and closed his eyes a moment. A wife. He didn't want a damned wife, not now, but there was no hope for it. "Go to Scotland, son, and choose your wife, then bring her to me." "I don't want to marry some little savage from Scotland, tie myself to a female I've never even seen, all because of your damned honour, your ridiculous oath made when I was 9 years old." Instead, he said, "Yes, father, I will leave soon. I suppose it would be only fair to send a servant to the Earl of Ruthven and inform him of my coming. Conyon has already seen to it. He dispatched a servant 2 days ago. You may leave in the morning." "I am well caught," Hawk said, more to himself than to his father. Honour, he thought, was sometimes a damnable thing. He'd said something of the sort a year before, when his father had told him of the oath, told him it was his responsibility to make good on that oath. Indeed, he remembered yelling at his father that he should marry one of the girls himself.